So, to begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the land of the Turrbal and Yagara people, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging. And for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking you through some of these slides. And hopefully, you'll have some ideas and some questions. And at the end of the presentation, we'll be stopping the recording and unmuting and asking some questions. So I want you, first of all, to just picture a young 15-year-old girl sitting in 1995 in a room in far off southeast Queensland, sitting in a circle with some people and being walked through the first steps of meditation. That was me in 1995. And I sometimes find it surprising that I'm here now in 2025 and I'm still talking about mindfulness to people as one of the things that I do in workplace well-being. It's been the concept of mindfulness has come a really long way, and I'm excited about the way that it's been integrated into the workplace landscape and the connections that are being made through research for people to be able to get the most benefits out of it, and to encourage workplaces to look at how it can be used to help people. So we begin by looking at the outline today. What we're going to be looking at is mindfulness. We're also going to be looking at psychological safety. We're going to look at the concept of how mindfulness and psychological safety can be used in effective leadership. And I'll be walking you through some practice techniques. So when we talk about mindfulness, what we want to think about is how can mindfulness and the practice of being mindful help you to look after yourself and help you to look after your team. And what we want to understand is that a mindful person, a person who is mindfully aware of their health and well-being, is able to check in and tune in to their own inner workings and the signals that are going on inside themselves, and be able to be more responsive and effective in the conversations and the connections that they make with their team members. And working together, this can help to improve psychological safety. Now, I've done a kind of a visual for you. So if you work in well-being, I want you to have a think about all the different ways that people can be affected, or the different things that can contribute to people's well-being in the workplace. So we're looking at this overall. Now you can see the circle there. We have culture right connected to the circle around people's well-being, and that's on purpose, because when we think about well-being, we want to think about the entire landscape, the entire culture that is surrounding the person who is working there. Now, on the right-hand side, we've got some of the more traditional things like the EAP and the HR and the employee well-being processes within the EAP and HR. We have regular surveys and pulse checks that hopefully your organization is running. We have the iterative initiatives, things like the workplace wellbeing programs, any kind of prevention programs like the flu and vaccine and skin checks and things like that, and the ongoing training, support, and development that you're hopefully running within the different groups within your organization. And then on the left-hand side, let's go down to the bottom there. You can see psychological health and safety, or occupational health and safety. We have those two that are underpinned by the legislation and the safety compliance checks that you need to be running. Now, in order for those to be effective, the psychological health and safety especially, we need to have, and the occupational health and safety, we need to have a workplace that has psychological safety as part of the core functioning of the culture. So if you look up there in the psychological safety in the left-hand corner, you can see that the arrow feeding down into the psychological health and safety, and an arrow feeding into the culture, because it is all connected. Now, when we look at mindfulness, this can contribute greatly to the psychological safety of a workplace, because we've got some factors that come out of a mindfulness practice. When done well, and this is important to remember, that when it is done well, when people focus on good use of mindfulness within the workplace, they can build traits like compassion and empathy. They can provide or be involved in activities like being more collaborative, the recognition programs through positive affirmation and reaffirmation. Communication skills get enhanced through mindfulness practice that builds emotional intelligence. And then we can affect things like diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, because we have the open awareness and people's more conscious awareness of unconscious bias, and the trust that gets built up through the emotional intelligence of self-awareness. So all of these are some examples of how mindfulness can contribute to the psychological safety within a workplace. And then taking the psychological safety, we can see how that can feed into psychological health and safety, which is where the psychosocial risk management comes in. So when we think about psychosocial risk management, we're looking at how can we mitigate the risks that are associated to people's psychological wellness or health. And when there is an enhanced psychological safety in an organization, it helps to mitigate those risks, because issues are recognized and raised earlier, so the prevention strategies can be put in place more quickly. So that's where this slide is particularly useful to think about. I want to show you this next slide. This comes from some research by Liu in 2023. Now, this is how mindfulness, it's kind of a theoretical model of how mindfulness can be used to assist workplace safety. Now, this focus here is on physical safety, but we can easily take this model and apply it to the psychological safety, health and safety as well. So when we look at mindfulness in this theoretical model, we're looking, as I said, at the enhanced awareness of the stimuli, the ability to pay a focused attention, and the ability to be open and accepting to changing attitudes and experiences, and how this can feed into the safety-related job demands. So looking at the risks and hazards, looking at the cognitive demands, and looking at the emotional demands, and how that can feed into the workplace safety. Now, I think this model is really interesting from the physical safety point of view, and again, how mindfulness can contribute to this psychological safety to be able to manage those risks, but it can equally be applied to the psychological health and safety of the of workplaces. So this is something to bear in mind. Like I said, I think this is a great model to view through that lens. So talking more on psychological safety, obviously it comes from the great work of Amy Edmondson, and she's really paved the way for an understanding in the workplace around psychological safety. Her quote here is that psychological safety is the belief that one will not be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. Now, if you think about when we take that broader step back into psychosocial risk management, the concept of asking questions or raising concerns, we want to be able to have a workplace where this is easily done, and it's done without any fear of retribution. So putting in the systems, we've got anonymous reporting and those channels where these kinds of things can happen. But we also want to be able to have the kind of culture in a workplace where when those questions and issues are raised, they are met with an openness and a curiosity and the psychological safety that allows you to listen and try to understand without, as I said, any sense of punishment or retribution. So we look at listening to understand, we look at failure as learning, we look at boundaries and empathy, and all of these contribute to healthy psychological safety. We want people to be able to share their ideas, to ask questions when something comes up in their mind, to be able to admit mistakes when things go wrong so they can be fixed quickly, be able to give and get feedback easily, and to be able to ask for help. These are some of the core tenets for good psychological safety in the workplace. Now, if we go back to that concept of mindfulness, you can see here mindfulness allows a person to be able to listen firstly to themselves, but also to others. It allows you to look at your own failings with compassion. And then this helps you to have self-compassion and then to enable you to share that compassion to others and have compassion for other people. It helps you to understand your own boundaries because you're able to tune into your own self and regulate your own self and your personal emotions. And this can help you to set boundaries with other people because you become more aware of how you're being affected by situations. And of course, mindfulness allows you to develop empathy through, again, those same channels of compassion to be able to understand this is how it's affecting me. I wonder how it might be affecting someone else, and be able to extend that empathy to other people. We go to the concept of mitigating psychosocial risk here, and this comes from Psychological Safety Australia, Brock Bastian. And he says, the only way to manage risk within an organization is to have a culture where people feel safe to be able to raise issues, report concerns, and speak up when those issues or concerns are impacting on them personally. Now, again, coming back to mindfulness, we really want to have a think about how can we enhance this psychological safety in the workplace. So now coming to managers and leaders. So particularly people who are in a leadership position, this doesn't mean top level of the corporation. We can go down into the middle management. These people are still leading others. And most research is pointing to right now that people in management are struggling to maintain their stress levels in the current environment. So the first research study comes from Skaken in 2011. This is a study with 2,052 people. I think there were around 158 managers and the rest were employees. What they found is that managers experience having higher demands, less social support, more conflicts, and higher levels of stress in their daily life. Now, that was 2011. We go to Gallup in 2024 and the Gallup State of the Global Workplace Report. And what they found is that managers have more daily negative experiences or more negative daily experiences than non-managers. Now, they also have more positive experiences as well. So there's a real roller coaster, but they're also more likely to be stressed, angry, sad, or lonely than non-managers. So we can overall say that people in management and leadership positions are experiencing higher levels of stress and negative emotions than people who are in non-management positions. Now, let's come back to mindfulness. A great quote here from Anne Lamott. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Now, I know that it's not that simple, that we could just sort of be working our daily lives and then we unplug and then we plug back in and all of the problems are fixed. It's not that simple. However, the small practice of being mindful throughout the day can enhance and boost the emotional regulation and the self-awareness of a single person. And there is a ripple or a knock-on effect to the relationships that are contained within that person's sphere of influence. So although we can't fix everything with mindfulness, it's really important to think about, well, how can this one drop of mindfulness in my day influence not only how I'm feeling in the moment, but that ripple effect across the organization. So when I'm feeling calmer and I'm able to better regulate am able to have those more open conversations with people, people are going to have that more responsive reaction to me, a more positive response to the emotional conversation that we're having. And this can set the scene for ongoing psychological safety, so that when issues come up, people do feel more able to get into contact with me and have conversations around the concerns that they're having. So let's take a little moment to practice ourselves, and then we'll dive into what mindfulness is all about. So what we're going to do here is just take a moment. I encourage you to put your feet onto the ground and take a moment to yourself. You can close your eyes if you wish, or just lower your gaze. And we're going to just take a moment to stop. And all I'm going to ask you to do is just take a couple of breaths that are more conscious than they were before. So my eyes are closed, my feet are on the ground, my mouth is closed, and I'm breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. So this might be the first point in the day where you've stopped what you're doing and you're just noticing your breathing. There's nothing that you need to be doing, just breathing in and out. And then just bringing your eyes gently open again and coming back together. So this is just, literally less than a minute in your day, and hopefully even just that brief moment where you pause helps you just to stop and slow down. And what you're doing is coming out of the more active, more reactive stress response and moving yourself into that more aware rest and digest response. We're out of the stress response. And when we're in that uh, rest and digest response, where we're more calm and we're more able to regulate ourselves, we're also more able to be responsive to the surrounding environment. So, mindfulness from the Greater Good Science Center out of UC Berkeley. This is my favorite quote for mindfulness because I think it sums it up really, really well. Mindfulness is the maintaining a moment by moment awareness of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations, and surrounding environment through a gentle, nurturing lens. So we break it down to the moment by moment. So it's every moment that passes, being as present as possible within those moments, being aware of our thoughts, being aware of our feelings, our bodily sensations, and our surrounding environment. So these are all different aspects of our living experience, and we're bringing awareness to all of them at the same time. And we're doing this with a gentle and nurturing lens. Now, this is the part that many people forget or drop off. The gentle, nurturing lens enables you to bring compassion to your experience and take away some of that judgment and the need to direct the process. So this is a way for you to start to develop your self-awareness, but also to be able to regulate what you're feeling and what you're going through, and so you can respond more to other people. As Viktor Frankl is attributed to have said, some people have questioned whether it was Viktor Frankl or somebody else, but he's the one who seems to be attributed to this quote. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Now, hopefully from there, you can see how the mindfulness aspect allows you to find that space between the stimulus and response, which feeds into psychological safety, and the psychological safety supports the psychosocial hazard environment and the things that you're doing to try to mitigate risk. We go together and look at psychological and safety and mindfulness. The bridging between them are things like having that non-judgment, having the acceptance, feeling a sense of trust between you and another person, being able to observe yourself and observe other people, and have presence, awareness, and active listening as part of your daily experience. Psychological safety and mindfulness, when we look at those together, mindfulness is a skill that we develop. So when we think about mindfulness, I get a lot of people responding to me saying that they can't do it, as though it is as something you either can do or you can't do. And so a lot of people say, well, I've tried it, doesn't work, I can't do it. What we want to understand is that no one can do it at the beginning, and everybody has to take time to learn it. So when we develop that skill of mindfulness, where we have to know that it's always a work in progress. It is not something that we will just immediately be able to do. We want to understand also that together, psychological safety and mindfulness allows you to generate a feeling of self-awareness or an understanding of yourself. So when we go back to that concept of mindfulness as the awareness of your thoughts and your feelings, your surrounding environment, and your bodily sensations all at the same time, this is helping you to develop your own self-awareness and your compassion for others, because you're firstly directing compassion to yourself, and the sense of empathy. So being able to understand yourself better means that you're able to then transplant that understanding into other people and develop empathy for others. All of these are really great skills and benefits to have, but then feed into psychological safety. We are able then to, through mindfulness, to see ourselves and others as humans. And we're able to take that step back and understand that people are capable of making mistakes as much as I am capable of making mistakes. And when I have that self-awareness and understanding, and I can share that understanding to other people, I'm generating an environment of psychological safety. I'm generating an environment of understanding and compassion, which allows us to take a step back, look at how can we deal with the issue at hand without creating extra drama or extra fear, which will then contribute to later on a lesser level of psychological safety. So going back to our original slide that I showed you earlier, I'm hoping that through this brief walkthrough, through mindfulness, psychological safety, and the psychosocial hazard management framework, that you can see the connection, albeit that we've gone through this very quickly and briefly. Hopefully you can see the connection between all of these and how they can all work together. So we go back to this slide, we look at your people's well-being, we look at the entire culture of the organization and how all of these contribute to the effective management of people's well-being in an organization. There is no one particular thing which is better or worse. They're all helpful to creating a psychologically safe environment where people can feel that they can work at their best, they can contribute at their best, and that the organization gets the best out of these people. So the people are feeling engaged, they're feeling like they belong, and they're able to produce their best work. This is a win-win for everybody. Now, if we go back to on the left-hand screen, when we look at mindfulness, what I want you as someone who manages or leads people to understand is that when you're practicing mindfulness, you're getting great benefit for yourself. There's great physical and psychological benefit for you just through practicing mindfulness. But in doing so, as a leader, you're also contributing to the psychological safety and the psychological health and safety of the organization. And this is supporting the overall culture of your organization. So without going any further into it, I know there's so much that we could cover. I'm just going to share with you that you can get more from Sunrise Well by scanning on the left-hand side. the links that are available there. So if you're looking to speak with me more or contact me directly, you can go there or just email me. And on the right-hand side, if you'd like to download the free Workplace Wellbeing Health Check, this is just a sort of a snapshot in time that you can do for yourself, to do sort of a self-assessment around how you feel your organization is sitting right now in terms of the well-being of your team or well-being of your organization. More than happy for you to download those and have a look. And we do have more workshops coming up, so please keep an eye out for them. And you can see the references for some of the work that we were looking at today. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing and we'll be opening up for questions. Thank you.